Welcome back. Thanks for attending again today. I'm Nancy Jan Girusso. For those of you that do not know me from yesterday, you will know me. We are going to introduce Alex from Higharc. He is going to be our sponsor. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks, Nancy, for the intro.
Sure.
My name's Alex Hunter. I'm the VP of Marketing at Higharc. And today I'm going to give you a little introduction to what we do as a company. And if I start speeding up my talking, it's probably because the caffeine's kicking in from earlier. But I'll keep this short and sweet so we can get on to this great panel this morning. So I'm newer to the industry, having spent most of my time working on consumer products in the Silicon Valley, building consumer hardware. And one thing I've learned over the past year, having been in home building, is really what a complicated business it is, right? And how putting together every single home involves hundreds of tasks, parts, people. It's really opened up my aperture and giving a newfound appreciation for what you all do. And the one reoccurring theme in all my conversations with builders and industry leaders and suppliers and so on and so forth is this core problem that many builders face, and is a reason Higharc as a company got started. And so before I tell you what we do, I'm going to tell you why we do it. And that starts with this idea that builders have all these manual tasks and disconnected processes across their business, right? And this really kills efficiency. And so for the past 40, 50 years, it's been pen and paper, or this what I like to call a whack-a-mole solution, right? Each different department, whether it's design and operations, purchasing, sales and marketing, goes out and gets a separate software solution to solve their immediate problem. And the challenge with this is none of these departments have like a central or single source of truth. And so all their information doesn't talk to each other. And so what happens is something that looks like this, which you may have a couple of these sitting on your desk back at the office, right? We got red line brochures, red line plan sets, confused buyers, teams running around trying to figure out like what actually needs to get done. And so this creates a lot of frustration and costly processes. And so everyone suffers. And this is what Higharc set out to solve when we founded as a company 6 years ago. And we also, and don't just take my word for it, we did the survey a couple months ago about, the pain that builders experience in handling change throughout that process and keeping everyone on the same page. So the TLDR is the pain is real. And so Higharc is a connected cloud platform that helps simplify your operations. And so we bring all your teams together and give you one single source of truth to design homes, sell in 3D, estimate, and produce plan sets. And so we'll bring all this together in what we call the home building cloud. And so you can see all those different teams are represented here. And I'm not going to go through line by line what this does, but this centralized data engine, as we like to call it, keeps all your teams on the same page. So what gets bought gets built. Now, starting with design, kind of a quick preview. I'm going to do a speed run through some of the value props and some of the features that we offer. It all starts with designing those plans, right? And so you can manage those with some incredible speed using AI-enabled workflows and generative design technology in what we call Higharc Studio. And this can be anywhere from 10x to 100x faster than AutoCAD because you're not drawing your drafting team or that outside architecture firm is not drawing lines, but they're actually modeling spaces within Higharc. And it treats a home as data. And so when you have a home as data, you can do a lot of cool things with it, including changing all your specs globally or making an update. So let's say there's a change in the marketplace, right? We find out about this new trend. People all of a sudden want dog showers for whatever reason. And well, how do I update dozens or hundreds of plans across my library? Well, you can do that. You make the change once in Higharc, it will update your plans everywhere, whether you're a regional builder in multiple states or multiple communities. And you can imagine the amount of pain that can save and time that can save in getting new product to market faster. Secondly, when it comes to options management, right? I spend a little time in product merchandising, and so this really speaks to me as well. When I want to really put the products that buyers want out into the marketplace, you can do that all in one place in Higharc and do it very easily. You can control all those option changes without having to go back to your drafting team to have a new option or something change. If you want to bump out a wall or add something new, you can do that right within Higharc very easily, and provide a interactive community map for your buyers as well, so they can pick which lot that they would like to buy. Now, something that more folks in this room might even be interested in is supercharging the buyer experience, right? We've designed our product, we've put together our options. Now let's get that out into the world. And so you can put on this right on your website and offer a 3D buying experience where buyers can customize their home, including structural options, and generate a lot-specific brochure instantly. So they walk away with a vision in their hand of what they're going to get, and they get really excited. And because, like we talked about earlier, that home is treated as data, this is in sync with the plan and in sync with your takeoffs and CDs as well. So no one's running around with those red line documents. All right, you can take control of the bid process. So now that the buyer selected their home, right, I can generate an automatic takeoff and see what was the cost delta between what the base price of the home was and all those options that buyer added. And so you can visualize all these quantities in 3D, and this can all be done without manual spreadsheets. And so for an estimating team or a purchasing team, this could save you days or weeks of time having to figure out, like, what can we actually make money on this home or this plan. And so this has been a big thing for some of our customers. And then finally, right, let's get to that source of truth, right? What are we actually going to build? And so with Higharc, you can generate lot-specific construction drawings in just one click. It's all based on what that buyer purchased and what you design, whether it's a master plan or lot-specific plan. You can, of course, annotate and do all the things you would expect on a plan set. And this is all 100% in sync with those buyer choices that got made earlier. So that's kind of the quick run through of what we do. And here's a great example of one of our regional builders who's actually here at the show out of Arkansas. And they had last year, kind of rewind a few months, they were at a position of missing their revenue target for the year. So people are a little stressed out. How are we going to course correct before the end of the year so we can all have Christmas bonuses, take our break, and so on and so forth? And so they found a plot of distressed land. Now, they build brick homes, and they said, we're going to build cottages instead in order to hit our target. And that's what they did. And so they rapidly developed a number of new plans, all with 8 different elevations within Higharc. And they were able to launch a new community within a matter of weeks and get that out. And so it's like, all right, Alex, this is great. But what was the result of that? Well, they took 15 days off their soft cycle time. And so if you would imagine, let's say $300 a day for a cost of a home, right? You're talking $4,500 a home. Not to mention $100K savings of not having to go back and forth with third parties, and making $10 million in additional revenue by selling these 20 additional homes. And so when you get Slack messages from customers that talk about, like, we were all able to take the week of Christmas to New Year's off, everyone's smiling, we get pictures from the office, it really makes me excited about doing what I'm doing on a regular basis. And so that was a quick case study to give an idea of kind of how this plays out for a builder. And so that's my little intro. Thank you all for giving me the time this morning. We would love to connect. We are set up in booth 505, or if you want to learn more, feel free to check out higharc.com. But thank you very much.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks for people. Okay, so you see there's a lot of us here this morning. So we're just going to quickly go through and introduce ourselves and say what company we're with and what you do.
I'm Teresa Glatfelter, and I'm with Parker Mason Designs in California. I'm Leanne Booker. I'm with Southwestern Interiors in Dallas, and I'm one of the design center managers. Good morning. I'm Melanie Gowans, and I work at the Shane Holos Group of Companies. I'm the VP of Sales and Marketing and Design, and we are based out of Calgary, Alberta, and breaking ground this year in Dallas.
Yay. Exciting.
Kathy Floyd, good morning. VP of Sales and Marketing.
I'm Laurie Woods, Purchasing Manager for Bethington Homes of Arkansas.
Great. So we are going to go through, yesterday we hit on some of the models and just kind of how important your models are. And today we're going to go through the processes of when you're a home buyer. So again, I put together some questions. We're going to just go through the panel and hear what they have to say. Your participation would be great. Any of you guys that want to chime in, please just let me know, okay? So we're going to start with Kathy. So do your home buyers get to view options and finishes online prior to meeting with their designer?
Yeah, so what we offered was a platform called VIO. Has anybody ever heard of that? You have? Okay. So we did try that at one of our communities. I think we struggled a little bit, especially with the sales team, because here again, it's that visual picture that they just really couldn't see or get, you know? And so I think that's something that us as builders really need to expand on, because today everything is online, and I think it's just an area, and I think you were speaking about that yesterday a little bit, right? Is that I think that's just an area that we haven't really touched on that we probably should and get better at, because we have a tendency to do things that we used to do. And I think innovation today is key.
Great. Lori, what's going on down at Buffalo?
Well, just as thanks to Alex and Higharc, we have now the options where the buyers can look at different options before they come in and meet with design. We are in the process of getting it to where you're able to see what the tile looks like, what the countertops look like, so they can really have an idea of what they're wanting before they even walk in the door and not feel so overwhelmed.
Great. Leanne, what are we doing in Texas?
Not those things. It's same thing. It's hard to see the actual finishes online, but what I've found is we have a PowerPoint deck for some of the builders I'm on. And the things that have been most beneficial in my mind are door styles, hardware, plumbing, fixtures. It helps them get a chunk of the appointment under their belt when they walk in, so they're not having to make those small decisions, and they can focus on coming in and actually seeing the finishes in person. But we need to get up with the times. So,
Teresa?
Yes. In all my experience with production, I've been for 15 years, we always had a platform that they were able to view, as you said, like the fixtures, not the finishes. They were still coming into the design studio to see the tile, to touch the carpet, to see the color. I still think that that's hard to see from a computer screen, and being in front of them and talking through that process with them. I think it's awesome that they have the visual, but you have to keep telling them that it's, color is different.
Great. And Melanie, what are we doing in Alberta and now Dallas?
Well, Dallas, it's early days, so I don't want to speak to that.
Okay.
But in Calgary, because we're technically a custom production builder, it can be really difficult. And we disclaimer everything. But we try to put as much online as possible and have a lot of communication, to your point about reducing appointment times and just having them prepared. But it is difficult. We're exploring options. There's a company that we're working with right now. And, I think a few years ago, it was very expensive and time consuming to get our finishes online for people to view. I think with AI, that is changing, and it's a lot more affordable, and there's quicker turnaround. So there's a company that we're using right now to put some options together for our top selling models. And so people can actually see, what does it look like to have certain finishes together in a finished product online. Mm-hmm. Technically speaking, though, there's going to be some variations, and depending on their computer screen, that might not be accurate. So we have to disclaimer everything. But our intention is just to help educate people, so when they come in, they have a starting point. And so they, I think the biggest goal is just to reduce those appointment times and have people more prepared. So
great. How does sales and the design team get new home buyers comfortable with an online interface? So we're going to kind of go through the same sequence. Kathy, go ahead.
I think buyers, I think they're comfortable with online, but here again, if we're not displaying it correctly, then there's that struggle, right? So I think buyers, they're online all day, every day. So for them, I don't think it's anything new. I just think it's how we deliver that, right? So I just think that here again, it's educating the salespeople, because they're the first, interaction. And so once we get them all kind of dialed in, then they're able to explain that to the buyer. And it's always good to have the buyer prepared for when they go to the design center as well.
Well, and I know we heard the keynote yesterday, so all ages are comfortable with going online?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I do. I think everybody's just used to that.
My age. Boomer. So, okay, Lori, go ahead.
So again, thanks to Higharc, I guess I'm gonna be the new salesperson for them. But it truly has given the sales team plus the designers, it gets the homeowner to be able to see not just, different choices as far as what their picks are as far as colors and stuff, but even just the structural options. Being able to have a 3-car garage instead of a 2-car garage, and being able to go in there and manipulate the plans and being able to save it, think about it, and then, come back the next day and look at it again and say, I was thinking about this. We're able to change, this on this house rather than, a game room instead of a bedroom or vice versa. It just gets them more involved in creating their home and personalizing their home on just a so much better level. And I think as far as age-wise, because I'm one that I'm still not as technical, as far as technical savvy as some of our others, but being able to have that chance of personalizing their home and feeling like they've got more invested in being able to build it rather than just a cookie cutter home.
And I think the buyer becomes more invested, right? Because now you're personalizing your home, right? So all of a sudden here comes that, excitement and thrill. Oh, and look what we can do. We can change and add. And it becomes even as a product, more customizing, right? It's good.
So with Higharc, are you guys building full model complexes or less models?
We still, Ashley's got to have her models. So,
okay.
Yeah, we still do the model. And really what we do with our models, like y'all were talking about yesterday, we have our model will have any and every upgrade that you can have. We put that all into one home, just so they can see what those options look like, and then we usually will have a couple of specs that are just our standard homes. So it gives that buyer a chance to know exactly what they're getting.
Great. Leanne, what are you guys doing in Texas and your builders?
They're here today listening about what's offered.
Okay.
We're very excited. So our buyers range, and so to have one program that fits every buyer would be a lot, which is a struggle. And then we have some that we don't have. Like I said, the PowerPoint is nice because we have several accounts that we're able to manipulate and work towards the custom or production or semi-custom options. But then we have the buyers who come in and they're like, I saw it, but I didn't look at it. So what are we offering? So it's, I think it starts with sales, like you were saying. I think it's a partnership, and it can't all be on us to deliver the information, but having it go through a chain, I think will get them more on board with, oh, okay, I do have a partnership. I'm not going to just go in and spend 15 appointments picking out my options.
Great. Teresa?
So we always had sales be the starting point. That was huge, getting the buyer comfortable with the program that we used. Luckily, we had
what
a great
program did you use?
We used options online that turned into Studio Chateau. So I don't know if everybody's using that. I loved it. I used it for many, many years. It does give you that. I mean, they got to go in, and before they came to the design studio and talk with us and go through their options. And then I think also what we incorporated was an iPad, and for every designer to walk through the studio. And so being comfortable with just technology and being able to, walk your buyer with showing them their options at the same time while we're talking about things that they can touch and feel was really.
You guys did that at the models as well, right?
Yeah, we would do like
iPad.
We would do a pre-appointment with options. So if sales had questions, we were very involved in getting them set up on the program.
Melanie?
We have implemented a lot of technology over the last couple of years, and the intention is to not replace anything traditional. It's just to add to the offering, because I think yesterday was a really good point talking about how diverse different age groups are and what their interests are, right? So we don't want to say we're not offering a certain process anymore because we are selling all product types, including single family, multifamily. So we look at these tools as more of a customer experience. And, if someone wants to use them and it helps them with their purchase, that's fantastic. So I think the biggest thing is just being really transparent. And we've had our pricing and our models online for 3 years this July coming up. And it was was kind of nerve-wracking, but it's really benefited us, and it's really helped our bottom line. So, I think the biggest thing is just to focus on making it really easy for people and putting as much information out there as possible. And then having our sales teams on board with that, I think, is the biggest challenge that most people would face. And we allow them to have complete control over their pricing, and they can modify things very quickly, right? So, I think the biggest thing is just having intuitive design as well. So you don't really have to train people on how to use it.
Right.
It's just natural for them to go in and play with the tools and kind of like research and come in.
Click.
Yeah. And then they know what they want to buy, and we just help them purchase.
Yep. Okay, let's go. So how does sales and designers set the expectation for the home buyers to understand the standard home or the base home they are purchasing versus the upgraded models that they keep visiting?
I think it's educating the sales team, right? So when you're coming through the door, setting that expectation with the buyer, right? What's the question on standard home sales designs? I just think that here again, it goes back to transparency. We talked about it yesterday. I kept saying the same word over and over again. It's like, I heard this one time at a sales convention, and it was like, open your kimono, right? It's like, just say everything that's on the models. Be honest, right? This costs this. We're showing this. I just think the more that you're upfront, honest, I think people, again, develops trust, right? Because they want to trust that salesperson. Because as a buyer comes through the door, the first thing they go is, don't buy anything today, right? Because we're not buying anything. But I just think the more that you demonstrate, I think that you build that relationship.
Great. Lori?
I think for sales with our teams, we've really educated them on the process of, when the homeowner comes in and is looking at the houses, they really kind of have in their mind already what they are looking for, and being able to personalize the home a little bit more with just the standard options, and then looking at being able to see what else is available and not feeling that pressure of having to choose something and end up walking out saying, I wish we, hadn't been talked into that option, or I wish we didn't spend that kind of money. So I think sales and design have really collabed well together to make that homeowner or home buyer, see what they're truly wanting. We have a lot of cultured buyers in our market right now. And so they're really big on wanting that extra master bedroom, for their parents. So a lot of times they live with them, and being able to manipulate rooms and stuff, again, with Higharc, is able.
Alex, she's your best fan. I'm telling you.
We've been their guinea pig. So it's been good to see how the growth is being, but they're able to actually see what that extra master suite would look like bringing into that house, and being able to feel comfortable with that decision that they're making.
Yep. Because a lot of times that happens in production. That happens, like, it might not happen till phase 2 that you actually see a house that has that structural option in it, where they change the floor plan around.
Well, we have like a submittal 1, which they meet with the sales team and kind of pick out all of their structural options. And then once they go through that, there's a couple of weeks in between submittal 2, which that's when they go to meet with the designers. So at that point in time, it still gives them that little bit of time to kind of marinate on, if they aren't feeling comfortable with their decisions, they still have that time, because we still have not started the build of the house. So they still have that option of, if they need to go back and change it, they've got that opportunity.
Yes. In California, we start the house. And we just go, with or without a buyer, we start the houses.
Yeah.
So might take a while to do. So, okay, Leanne.
I think the partnerships we have with sales on different builders, it's a more successful and a happier experience for our buyers. And so I think on our end, we can do all that we can to develop that relationship. But when there is a roadblock with the sales team, it really hinders the happiness of the buyers that we're having on our appointment time of, well, did they tell you this? No, we don't know what you're talking about. So the builders, the sales and the design team, it is incredibly important to build that relationship. And I think through more technology and more
transparency and more communication.
Right. And because you guys are a third-party design center,
Right.
you
Sorry,
work
we are
with many
third-party.
you work with many builders. So you have many builders that you have to build those relationships
And
with.
the managers, we try to get together and figure out what works for you, what doesn't, and then implement that within the builders. I think sometimes it's harder for us because we have to, push more. It's Texas. It's a lot of good old boys who have been building for years and years and years, and it works. But when we have new technology and newer builders coming in, it's exciting to see what's available, but then it's really hard to change.
Pushback.
A lot of pushback.
Yeah. So Teresa.
Same. I think the sales is definitely important. One of the things we did with one of the builders I worked with was a pre-model walk, and we had the construction team there as well. And I think that was really key to setting up the expectation that construction, design, and sales were all on the same team. Because I think there's a lot of information that goes between those three people. And then we also did from there, we would start that process, and then we would meet with our buyer at the model and walk through, so that if there was any questions that we had with sales at the time, we could talk through that with the buyer and what they heard.
Hopefully, I think it comes down to communication. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Between all internal teams, and then obviously to the customer too. I know that a lot of our customers need to be informed several times in different ways to hear what we're saying. In Calgary, we have an in-house design studio, and we offer browsing and tours on Saturdays, which really is helpful to understand what's an upgrade on the finishing side and what's included as a standard.
So do your designers show up on Saturdays and go through pricing with them?
We don't have our designers on site for a reason.
Okay.
We want only the certain amount of information to be talked about.
Yeah.
And it works really well for multiple reasons, but that helps them understand what's included and what upgrade options are available. And then also in remodel homes, the conversation is had there too. And the marketing is communicating along with our processes. But, if we are in a community that we've got a couple show homes, we'll often have one that's a little bit more standard and then one that's really upgraded to show them the differences. So there's a few different ways, but there's multiple communication points.
Great. That's good. Great. Okay, what else? So if a home buyer wants to duplicate a model, does sales or the design team have pricing to share? Kathy?
Absolutely. I think the sales team should always have exactly what's in their models, because the first thing people always ask is, how much is, what is this model? What's it priced at, right? So I think it's always good. I mean, whether you have it online or, I don't know, at school, you could probably put a book or something together, but I think you should have all your pricing. I think you should know exactly what's in your model, because there again, you want to be transparent, right? So I think I made an example yesterday was I was out shopping some competition, and I went into a home, and, it had like $185,000 worth of options. And it's like, well, wow, that's like a lot, right? And then she says, but we don't offer half of them. So, I mean, it's just, to me, that's a little crazy, but definitely, because people buy what they see, right? As soon as you display it, they ask you, what's that paint color? Where'd you get that sofa, right? Where'd you get this? How much is that?
Especially us women. I mean, we're a consumer. We buy.
We're always buying.
Yep. And we buy what we like.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We have a list that shows every option. Like I was saying earlier, we have every option that we offer is in the model. So they're able to see if they want, shiplap accent wall, they know exactly how much just that shiplap accent wall is. And it gives them more of a visual, being able to see what the finish look is. And like y'all were saying with the color, what the paint color is, and even down to the lighting. I mean, we don't put anything in a house unless we are selling it or offering it.
Good. Your store's complete.
We appreciate it. Yeah.
Leanne?
We, as a third party, we have so many models. And so I would say individual pricing, yes. But if someone wanted a model, it would be more work on our end to make sure that we could duplicate it.
Do you guys have at least a starting point, or like starting from, like to duplicate this model?
I would say some of them we do.
Okay.
Not all of them. And I don't know about sales. I think that I guess some of us just assume that when they come in, they have been educated on options.
Okay. Teresa.
Yes, I was really lucky. All the builders were very transparent. So that was easy for us to establish the relationship of trust with our buyers. So I think that's super important.
Yeah, and we had that online with Studio Chateau. We created a little model to duplicate a plan one model is approximately this price, and to duplicate plan two, just so that they had a starting point. Because it depends, that model might have been built for 2 years, and so pricing could have changed. So, Melanie?
That's a good point.
I was about, yep.
Pricing changes?
Yeah. So they have the information, and we've got a system with a lot of detailed pricing in it for options. But on our custom quotes, we definitely have a disclaimer saying that because our costs are always fluctuating. So we can get those back to prospects very quickly to let them know. But absolutely, our sales teams are armed with all the information they need to be knowledgeable in those conversations and to duplicate. I think there's a few things that we need to work on. Some of our design options, like shiplap type of thing, they're ballparking that for sure in those conversations, but it seems to work for people. And we've got 6,000 items in our system.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of researching it. And
Yeah, I mean, people just want to know a ballpark at least.
right.
Am I spending $5,000 or am I spending 45,000?
exactly.
So I think that's what they're looking for. So, okay. So how are timelines and decision-making schedules communicated to the home buyer? So construction, we like to keep on time. We're not going to hold up your house. Okay. Go ahead, Kath.
Even though sales is always like, right? No, sales offered something else again, right? So for me, in my past builder is that we reached out to the home buyer on a weekly basis. And even if we didn't have anything to communicate, if there was any change, it was just nice as a touch point to say, hey, I'm just checking in, letting you know we're on schedule. And then, of course, if there are things that are progressing in your home, it's always great to either take a picture, text it. I mean, we're all into texting today, and all the home buyers, that's how they want to get their communication sent to them. And so you'll send them a picture. But I think you have to stay in touch with your buyer because you don't want them going, out and coming back in. And of course, they just are curious anyways. And if you don't communicate with them, then it just seems the relationship just kind of goes bad, right? And you want to keep that relationship intact.
Yeah.
Because you're with them sometimes a long time.
Yeah. I think we had like 9 months to 1 year builds we were doing. So depending on the product type.
Our main goal is to make sure the home buyer doesn't show up on the job site whenever they want to.
Absolutely.
So I think that's everybody's worst nightmare. Next thing you know, you're getting text messages and stuff at 9:00 at night, with pictures.
Yeah.
So our field, we introduce, when we start the home, our homeowner is actually they're involved all the way through the process. They meet who their field manager is. They'll go through and do walkthroughs 3 times before we even start putting drywall on the walls, making sure they're happy with where the outlets are going. If they had paid extra, like for a floor outlet in the living room, they want them there to see
Where it is.
where it's going to be. So I guess it builds more of a them having confidence in who their field manager is and who the builder is going to be taking care of their home, and it gets them more involved in truly making the house. I mean, we've even had it to where the homeowners come in and write Bible verses on the framing or kids' handprints in the slab before, whenever it's poured. So we try to build that relationship with the home buyer from day one all the way through to their final walkthrough.
Yeah, several of the builders I worked with, we did framing walks and we did drywall walks and things like that. So anything we were putting behind the drywall, they were able to do a walk with the super, and their designer out there to just make sure it was placed where it could be placed. Where they want it and where it could be placed are 2 different things.
And those are great when you're doing TBBs, right?
Yeah.
So when you're in spec, it's a little bit different, right? Because you're not married to them that long.
You can
But
just go.
Yeah. Right. But you usually do like a pre-con, drywall and the whole bit, which is great.
And I think it keeps design out of the field. We do mechanical walks and stuff whenever we're doing specs, but once we sign off on a spec and say, yes, this is how we're going to do it, then they build. And then it just helps that relationship with the home buyer in the field to just know the expectations, like this buyer is going to be a tough one, they're looking for everything, or this one is just really, happy to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So
Great. Leanne?
No, I completely agree with that. I also, it's a lot of money they're spending. And so when they come in, to have someone in the design process just kind of brush it off, or not brush it off, but not take it seriously, I think really can separate the relationship of what they're doing and their confidence in you. So we don't need to become best friends with them, but I think it is important for them to know that we're communicating, like, just checking in. I still don't have your pricing back, but I'm expecting it. I've talked to this person. Oh, your builder, he's great. You're going to love working with him. I think it's so important for us to be that nurturing part of them building beautiful homes, especially at those price points. It's not just going to Target, it is a lot more, there's a lot more feelings involved that we have to work.
Very emotional.
Very emotional.
Yeah.
Especially when they start telling you, like, my mother is sick and my father just passed and we're bringing them in. Then you're like, okay, well then now I know that you want to make this a warm, inviting place for her to feel that she is a part of your home, but she's not in your home, but can have her own space. Yeah. So I probably get too many feelings involved. I typically learn their children's names and I'm like, oh, Henry's room. You're going to love it.
Okay, Teresa.
Okay, so we saw the buyer, like, whether, depending on when the house is being built, because in California they build fast. And so when they came on, we could see the buyer as many times as possible. So it could be one time, it could be 5 times, it could be 10 times. So keeping the construction dates available to them and constantly reminding them when they have to come back. And when they left the design studio, we would always set your next appointment. They could always make an appointment in between if they had to, but we always, held them accountable that they were coming back because we had to make decisions by, a certain date. And then our sales team, again, was like super supportive and also keeping them accountable to those dates. So that was really helpful.
I believe that setting those timelines and kind of expectations up front is really important, even prior to purchase in some cases, right? So they know what they're expecting. It's odd, but some people will buy a home and then somehow disappear for a few months and go traveling.
It is, isn't it?
So yeah, just a lot of communication and letting them know what the steps are, because there's a lot in the process. We don't spec very much, and a lot of our stuff is what do you guys call it? To be built? We call them something different, but yeah. So,
what do you call it?
Well, there's a few different things. Yeah, pre-sale.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's interesting. You can actually lay out this information in this timeline depending, and everything's customized based on the product that they're building, because everything has a different process for us. And yeah, it's just multiple communication points between designers and our trade partners and our sales team to make sure that they're on track. But we do actually let them know the consequences up front if they don't meet those timelines, and we don't want to threaten too much. We want it to be a positive experience, but we will let them know, like, if they don't make these dates, the standards are going in.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the builders don't want to own any of their homes. They want to sell homes.
Right.
That's what we do here. When I worked with Warmington Homes and William Lyon Homes, they each had different processes that they did. And Warmington actually used to say what phase they're currently selling, what phase where they can make selections. There were 5 cutoff dates. So they would tell them, right, it would be on a board right up front. Mm-hmm. So that before they even came to buy, they would know, okay, I can do foundation changes, or I'm starting at drywall. Yeah, so that was helpful. So, okay, so how and when are home buyers' budgets being established? Kath?
Well, I would hope that the buyer would come in with a budget, right? But sometimes they don't, right? So, I mean, in the beginning, right? So if a home buyer is coming in, I think sales, well, I guess I'd probably defer to design, right? Because it's always good for the salespeople to say, hey, make sure that you do have a budget when you do go to the design center, because here again, it could cost way up here or it could be down here. So here again, educating the sales team to educate the buyer. And then hopefully the buyer does come in with some type of budget and says, hey, guess what? You know, I've got 50 grand or 100 or whatever that is. I just think it helps the process go through, because that way then they're just not so startled, right? Because when you go to the design center, it's like a candy store, right? There's just so much to look at, and then prices just fluctuate a lot. So it can be very overwhelming for a buyer to just go, whoa, I don't even know where to start.
Right.
And of course, then you have the wife who wants to probably spend everything, and then maybe you have the husband who doesn't want to spend anything.
Until we
So
get
it's
to the garage or the
den. Oh no, honey, we can't do that. Yeah, and I think it just puts the designer kind of really in an uncomfortable position too.
A therapy
So
position.
here again, as much transparency and communication up front just makes a smooth transaction.
Yeah, it does. Lori?
But I think for us, the home buyer, when they meet with the sales team, they obviously agree with Kathy. You know, they have to walk in the door knowing what their budget is. And so the sales team pretty much prepares design for what their budget is. So once they come to design, they already know what to really offer or what to show them that their options are, and just not put them in a situation of where, you know, it makes them feel uncomfortable because they're like, yeah, I wish I could have that, but I can't. Deal. So sales does a great job in preparing the design team to know, you know, if they've just got sky's the limit, or, you know, they want to focus on a certain, you know, like the kitchen, if they're wanting to focus more on the kitchen and spend most of their money in there, at least she knows whenever they walk in the door.
Got that.
Those are more successful appointments when we have that information. And then we have sales team that will put a huge chunk of money for them to spend at the design center. And then they'll come into us and they're like, we don't want to spend all that money. We want to use that at a different time. And, you know, it kind of throws us off of our game, thinking, oh my goodness, they have such a great allowance. We're going to be able to do X, Y, and Z. So again, having that partnership with sales and understanding more about what in that situation, the sales guy was more upset that he had given them all this money and they didn't want to spend it. So it just helps when there's communication. Exactly what they said.
Okay. I'll add to that. We had a form. It was like an add to loan form. So we used to receive actually from sales. We could actually, before the buyer even got to the design studio, we would know that how much money they had to spend or add to their loan. That didn't mean we had to spend it. We just got to see it. And then we would talk through very personal conversations. You know, let me help you spend your money in the right ways, not like establishing a trusting relationship that we're not just here to spend their money, even though it's fun. But do it like having the collateral with sales to know like with the communication again. But having that was also helpful for me because I could always kind of gauge, and then sort of talking through with the buyer, just getting to know them. Like you can tell genuinely sometimes where they're at and what their comfort level is in spending money. So that was really helpful.
A lot of conversations these days are about affordability. So our sales teams do often build in, because they are having budget conversations right out of the gate, because we want to know what they can afford and what they're approved for. And they are building in a lot of allowances at the design studio. So that is very helpful, just in knowing, like, to your point, obviously what they can spend, but really what they can afford.
Right.
So they're not going in because some people want to, and then we're building a house they can't close on.
Right.
So that's really what we're focused on right now, is making sure that there's a good experience for people, and then we're showing them the right selections that are good choices. Right. To your point,
They're the right choices in their budget.
They don't know how to, even if they got say 5,000 or 10,000, they don't know where to spend that and what the best, because it is an investment into their home, right? So,
yeah, I use the term investment now, not budget.
Yeah.
That's really what I hear, especially doing not production any longer and working with designers individually. So, okay. Oh my God, we got through it. These are the highlights. I think everyone knows. I mean, basically communication seems to be the best thing that we need to be doing here. I think it's so important that your sales team, your design team, and your construction superintendents or whoever's out in the field are really communicating with each other always through that whole process. I know buyers
a lot of times they like to just nod their heads, and we think that means they understand what we're talking about. But that doesn't usually mean they understand, because most of them haven't built a house before or even gone through the process before. So, and then I am a fan, obviously you guys know, of early online, give people information of what they can get and how much it's going to cost them, so it's realistic for them ahead of time. They can make those decisions at home. They can sit with each other and do the psychology at home with each other. And then the designers don't need to do that. So any questions? Okay, Janet, go ahead. Yeah, kind of like a Pinterest board or what they're doing.
That's what I asked for. I asked for a Pinterest board, and I know, or just pictures, and I'll just say, I want to get into your head. It doesn't have to be, I love everything about this room, but tell me, do you love the countertops? Do you love the kitchen cabinet color? That always makes it a more successful appointment when we can actually just see a picture. I'm very simple and visual.
Yeah. In the old days, we used to say, bring a piece of furniture in. Like like a piece of put a pillow cushion or something that you're gonna. So we've moved forward to Pinterest now. So
actually had someone bring a pillow in.
Okay, so so pillows. Just going back to that. I think, Janet, that's a good question. But I think Pinterest is what we're seeing. Teresa, what are you seeing? Because I know you do both.
Yeah. So boards, but options online had. I don't know if Studio Chateau still probably has.
We do.
On the program actually has questions that the buyer could ask. And so if we could see their profile, which we always would do before they came in, we could tell if they filled it out, they would be able to give us that information.
So lifestyle questions.
Lifestyle questions.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just asking for any inspiration that they could give us. We did that.
Quick questions.
Yeah. Yes.
I was going to say, as being in purchasing, we decide on our options, and then we test the waters a little bit with some of our options. We listen to what our home buyers are asking. If it's not an option that we offer, if we've got, it's kind of like we were talking about the shiplap, I guess it's been so popular. We've had so many people ask for it. So it's like, okay, well, we need to dive into it. And then so I'll, get takeoffs on some of our plans and just price it out and see. We'll throw it out there and just see how it works. And that's normally how we won't we won't put an option in unless we have many home buyers that are, wanting that. So, because it's like a dog wash, that's our new deal. And I fought it. So I'm caving in and letting them have it. So it's been, our company, when you walk in the doors of our company, we've got at least 2 or 3 dogs running around at all times. So we're big dog lovers. So dog wash, because I was like, there's mobile dog washes. Why can't they just call them?
That's so purchasing.
That's why we're doing that.
Right? That's purchasing.
Yeah.
I'm curious what the take rate's going to be on that.
Okay. And so now we've got dog washes in our new plan.
Setting a trend.
So,
We've done a few of those too.
Dave,
That's not a big take.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
oh yeah, it's huge.
yeah.
We're in Arkansas right now. I don't know what it is. We're a lot of the area that we are in, you can take your dog pretty much everywhere. So I think that's just the trend.
So Dave, with the different builders I worked for, so some of the builders set the option pricing, but when I was running, if it was a builder-owned design center and in-house, it was usually set by me based on between purchasing and how in the vendor, what the standard was going to be, and then kind of what the upgrades were going to be, and kind of where we had different price points from that. And then we did different markups based on the products. So things that were behind the drywall, we can add a little bit more markup on things behind the drywall, like electrical outlets and things like that we had to do, because hopefully people weren't going to remodel their brand new house when they moved in. We also were selling options that were more convenient, like refrigerators and washers and dryers, and those had less of a markup on it. It was more of just to kind of complete the finished home is what we were doing at the time. Well, Yeah, usually between merchandising and purchasing, they would come up with what's going to be the option offers. And then we would go from there. And if I saw pricing that came over and it just sounded ridiculous, I would call the plumber and say, can you take a look at that number again? And maybe we need to switch to a different, we need to go to Kohler, or we need to switch to something else as far as that goes. So we kind of always tried to do kind of that good, better, best. So people had different options that they were going, and it had to have the features to make it the price count.
Yeah, we offer for Buffington, I've negotiated different price ranges for, like you were saying, good, better, and best. What's standard in the home if they want to upgrade it to more of, the gold finishes or the polished gold. That's an upgrade, but they are only able to choose
certain fixtures.
What we offer. I make those decisions before we even show the homeowner or the home buyer what we offer. And we have our own in-house design. So, we've got plumbing, taps, flooring, countertops, brick, shingles, siding. It's all in-house. So I've negotiated all of that on the forefront so I can control what those prices will be. Yeah, no, we really control what those options are. The master closet always is a big one. A lot of people want, more shelving, more storage is, key. Bathroom with the freestanding tubs, the Euro shower where you've got two, shower heads on both ends. And then, of course, we have a regular standard kitchen and then like a gourmet kitchen where it has like, the cafe or the monogram, upgraded appliances. Because, especially for appliances, because then you've got double gas burners, you've got to bring in more gas that has to be plumbed in. So, hey, yeah. Right.
Yeah, we were looking at probably about 15% of the sales price of the house is what at the design center. That did not include exterior landscaping or anything like that. We didn't do that in all locations. That was based on builders who wanted to do it. So is that what you guys are still seeing now? Are you seeing buyers upgrading a little less?
12.
Okay. Yeah. So, and then I was going to ask, how many of you guys are using any kind of online program for your buyers to look at ahead of time? Show of hands. Okay. Great.
Their real estate agent needs to be notified, because the one thing, and just as a person that used to build homes, it becomes more of a liability if they get hurt on the job. You've got to keep that boundary, and maybe the communicating more with that home buyer outside of that. So then if they know that they're wanting to come in, or if they've got questions, letting them know that it's so important that they need to come, to their sales agent, and then their sales agent being out there. Because I know for Arkansas, there's fines that the builder can get if they're out walking the jobs and stuff without any kind of representation. That's trespassing, is what they consider it, because it's not, we still own the property.
Yeah, of course.
It's still Buffington's property. You're trespassing. And so it's worked. But we have several conversations with the home buyer at the very, first part of their build, letting them know how important it is. We have, like Kathy was talking about, we have our pre-con that will get to walk out when we're framing, after we have framed the home. They walk it, if they've got any kind of electrical upgrades they're going to be doing, they'll walk it whenever our mechanicals are getting ready to be set out. And then drywall, they come out after drywall just to look at, everything once it's finished. And then, and this is all with the field managers. This is not with the sales agents. They meet with the field manager. They're assigned a field manager for each one of their houses. And then we do a walkthrough right before we paint, just so, because their eyes might see something before our guys, with them seeing it every day. And then we do 2 more walks before they do their final, we call it HOO, which is the homeowner walkthrough, just getting their approval on everything before we even. The main goal too is we finish a house 100%. Whenever they sign off on that house, it is 100% completed. So then, of course, that helps with warranty on the back end. Our warranty is just as important as the sale of the home. So we want to make sure that that homeowner has had ample time to be able to see if there was anything they didn't like. So we do not change it. It will cost them a pretty penny to change it. But just having that communication with them is very important on day one. Yes. Everything that we do is all in-house. We just have more control of it.
So, Mike, being out in the field, how is it with setting up walks? Are you guys doing walks? Yeah. I think with the builders I was doing business with, because I did 68 builders I was working with, but most of them had about 3 walks on site, and we set it up at the time of sale, basically, because we knew when the construction was going and how long the build was going to be. So around this time, you were going to need to be here for your walk. And they tried to give people that, but we had people they snuck on job sites. They tried to put their own wiring in. The super would catch it and they'd pull all the wiring out.
Well, it's funny because I'd get a phone call and, and usually purchasing, I try to stay out of it as much as possible, but somehow my number gets placed in with the real estate agent asking, we met with the electricians. Electricians were on site. We think the homeowners are wanting to add an extra outlet. And I'm like, no. If they don't like what they're getting, then they need to go buy another house. And that kind of shuts them down at that point.
Our super, if they said it was okay to add it and the electrician was still out there, we would be able to add it. And it was really based on the call of the superintendent. Because again, it's really the guy that's building the house
has got to be in control.
Right.
We have a list of electrical options they can add after the house is ready, but it's more expensive than you would like.
Right. Yeah. You should have done it sooner, right?
Well, and I know there's a lot
of
buyers try to work a deal with the electrician that come back after the house is closed.
Oh, they all try to work deal.
I'll do what you want to do after the house is closed.
Yeah.
We're sticking with it.
Yeah.
One thing that we've been doing that's been very helpful is doing video and photo emails weekly to our buyers. That helps.
Yeah, there's a few builders in Southern California that are still doing the photos and sending them weekly, and I think that's helpful too.
Videos that we have found to be more beneficial because the sales team can explain what's going on, and they can say, okay, this is coming up to a cutoff time, so take a look at this. And we've actually had, in Calgary specifically, had half of our buyers come from out of town. So those videos have been really helpful.
Yeah. So any more questions? Because we are now at 9:15 and I'm dismissing you all. So I will see you guys back here at lunch. Have good boardroom meetings with your boardrooms, right? Are next.
Yes.
So thank you, everybody. Thanks, Alex, for breakfast. Okay, I got to find coffee.